The Canadian Bitcoiners podcast is just two guys and maybe a guest or two discussing Bitcoin, Bitcoin equities, and the related macroeconomic space. It's not meant to be financial advice, so please, if you're doing any investing after listening to our program, do your own research, do your own due diligence, and understand that any money you invest can be lost. The show is meant for entertainment purposes only, and we hope you enjoy the program. Friends and enemies, welcome back to the Canadian Bitcoiners podcast, the mighty CBP on the mighty and getting mightier CBP Media. My name is Joey. That's Len. Happy Canada Day to you and to all your friends and your family. The true north, strong and free. Are we, what does Marty Ben always say? Are we living in a free country, Len?
Let's go. Freer than a lot of others. Let's be perfectly honest. Like, you could be in different parts of the world and you'd be like wondering, it's so bad here. We got to do This Land Is Your Land song, Joey. We got to sit down and start.
I don't talk about land. The only O Canada song I remember is I can't remember what it's called, but I know the lyrics like 1 little, 2 little, 3 Canadians. Now we are 20 million Canada.
Oh, double it now.
Yeah, it's actually higher than that. No one actually knows population. Anyways, good to be back. Len, I was just talking to you about, I did a 36-hour fast, my first ever this weekend. Why, you might ask? I was bored. My wife was away at the cottage with her mom and a few other daughters and mothers and whatnot. So I was at home and decided on Saturday night that I was going to try and do a fast. It went fine, except I told Len earlier that you're supposed to reintroduce food slowly after a fast. I didn't do that. And I have been paying the price and may pay the price once or twice more before I go to sleep. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. We're talking about Bitcoin tonight. And we're glad you guys are here on a holiday. Jordan, Madman, Monroe, I see you guys in the chat. People on Twitter.
This is going to be the smallest audience, I think.
Smallest audience, shortest show. The sponsors get their read regardless, though. EasyDNS. Mark has been with us for more than a year now. Great sponsor. We're bringing him on in the next little while. He's going to be here in studio as I fart. He's going to be here in studio coming up in a few weeks, I think. I got a schedule with him. EasyDNS has been a great partner for us. Why? Well, we built a website. We post on there every so often. We put up our weekly roundups there. Len does whenever he gets a chance, if it's not a holiday or if he's not busy playing tennis or golf. And you can do it too. You can build a website, bring a domain over, buy a domain, whatever. Mark is the best registrar in the land. On top of that, Len, all the virtual private server needs met. Email needs met. Privacy needs met. Anti-phishing, anti-everything met. Okay, this guy takes care of your website, your business, and whatever it is for you that you want to use EasyDNS for. So head over, easydns.com. The code is CBP Media, or you can just tell them we sent you. Mark will take care of you. We know you guys are using that promo code. We know you guys are doing business over there. We like it. We hope you continue. And we're looking forward to see what you build. Len, we got one other sponsor. Who is it?
It's Bull Bitcoin. And I'll be honest, I have no idea what the price is, so I can't say it's a good time to buy or sell, but it probably is one or the other or both. Bull Bitcoin has you covered with that. What is the price, Joey?
62.9 I see on my clock here.
It's been hovering in the 60s for quite some time. If you asked us this a year ago, we'd be very happy. But right now, it's ho-hum. 58 gang. We're waiting for them to celebrate once more again, I guess. But either way, Bull Bitcoin, that's a sponsor. I want to talk about them. So you could buy on-chain. You could buy with Lightning. On-chain fees are rather cheap right now, at least last time I checked. And if they still are, less than 50 sats per VByte, I would suggest continually buy on-chain. That's my advice. Do your own research to see what's best for you. But if fees go up, you have the option to buy with Lightning. So still, you could buy your Bitcoin even in a high-fee environment, and you won't get suckered in with paying high fees for that transaction. Other things you could do with Bull Bitcoin, you could pay your bills with Bull Bitcoin. So if you have a hydro bill, you got a mortgage payment, whatever, you got to pay a bill. Well, you could use Bull Bitcoin to facilitate the payment of that. So you're kind of using your Bitcoin to pay your way through life. But another way you could pay your way through life is to spend it in a real world. How can you do that with Bull Bitcoin? Well, they give you the option to buy gift cards with your Bitcoin. So if you want to go to Starbucks, you want to go Home Depot, whatever the heck you want to do, you can buy these gift cards. You can start spending them in the real world. But how did you buy it? Use your Bitcoin to do that. So you're living on the Bitcoin standard indirectly, though, but this is the way you can do it right now. Check them out. If you haven't yet opened an account, use our promo code below. If you do, and you fund your account and provide the necessary information, $21 is going to be added to your account. No questions asked.
Can't beat it. Just check out the Bull Bitcoin fee multiple here, brought to you by Bull Bitcoin. It's refreshing. Low, Len, very low. Things looking good. If you want to do a little consolidation, you got some 100,000 sat transactions you want to stick together so that you can use them in the future and not just look at them on your screen. now is the time. So, Boos, what do we got?
Yeah. So Top W Cone sends in 100 sats, and he says he actually posts a news article for Louisiana. He's like, notable notes, not CBP, but maybe the LBP for the Louisiana Bitcoiners podcast. We'll talk about the story later on. I don't want to talk about it right now. I just want to say thank you very much for providing us this story. We'll give you kudos once we read it later on. Wartime boosts 2 times, each time 333 sats. First time, he says, I can't tip 3333 every time. Sorry, laugh aloud. So I appreciate that. I appreciate the 333 sats twice. And the second time he sends it, he says the 2 beer mugs means cheers. Laugh out loud, because he sent us that last week.
Right.
So, yeah, man. Thank you very much. So Mo BTC Dick, 500 sats. Gotta love seeing the Liberals get embarrassed the other day. Extremely notable. I guess we'll touch upon that.
Yeah, a lot of politics today we could talk about, but anyway, yeah, keep going.
Yeah, we'll talk about both actually. It's in the notes here. And Checkpoint Jeff, 5,000 sats. He says, thanks for answering my question. You guys are doing great work. The question he asked, which we answered, is doing with Bitcoin and spending it, and especially with businesses, how they could deal with it. So yeah, hopefully we steered you in the right direction. Remember, document, report everything to CRA once you sell. That is the way to do things. If you don't, you're just asking for trouble.
Bow down to the mighty CRA. Bow down. Okay, Len. We're planning on doing an abbreviated show today, I understand. Where do you want to start?
Okay, let's do MetaPlanet right away. MetaPlanet is number 1 on the things I think we should talk about, which is pretty funny because remember, I'm going to eat crow in this. I said we should have commit this name to memory, but here we are committing it yet again. So this past week, they announced, MetaPlanet did, that they are going to be setting up a subsidiary company in the British Virgin Islands. And this is a way to, what they say, to enhance and manage its Bitcoin. And I guess there must be some laws in Japan that make it unfavorable to hold Bitcoin, or at least manage it under a corporation. I don't know. Maybe it's the tax advantages that they get from the British Virgin Islands. Either way, they went ahead with setting up this offshore company. You know what, Joy? Maybe the CBP should do the same thing. We should set one up.
Which like foreign island do you want to establish a corporate entity on? I'm thinking maybe somewhere warm, somewhere where we have like a nice beach access, dock or marina. I don't know.
What do you suggest? Think? It's not really an island, but let's go with Singapore, because we've been talking about the Singapore dollar quite a bit. It's a very nice country, fantastic weather, safe, clean. Sure. It checks a lot of boxes. Extremely expensive.
Do you see, by the way, the people on the chat from Twitch giving us shit right now? I guess a bunch of people just stumbled into this stream on Twitch. Listen, if you want to talk to other people in the chat, YouTube is the place. I don't know why we stream to Twitch, but if you want to talk to other people, YouTube is the place to go. Anyway, go ahead.
Funny. I thought that was Twitter or X. Anyways, either way. So this new offshore company set up by MetaPlanet is going to be called, or it is already called, MetaPlanet Capital Limited. And to put this company to good use, they decided this past week, in fact, just today, they bought another 20 Bitcoin valued at around 200 million yen. And this brings up their holdings, their total Bitcoin holdings, to a little bit over 160 BTC. And for people that are wondering what happened to the stock price this past week, it went up a cool 10%.
Yeah.
Not too shabby. So
it just goes up. Like they buy and it goes up. I don't know. Like it's almost like people like this strategy. Like you said, like months ago, any small cap company is not doing this. You got to answer to your shareholders for this. Why? Even if you don't believe in what you're doing, do you not want the stock price to go up?
Isn't that their responsibility for the shareholders?
It's a legal responsibility as far as I know. Yeah. It's illegal to do something else.
To say that this is a legal obligation for them to go ahead and buy Bitcoin, that's probably a stretch. But if there's enough evidence to show that by doing so, there's a chance a very good chance it's going to pump up the price of the company.
Yeah.
It's either you guys are going to do it, or you're going to get turfed for somebody else that will do it. Right. So
as you should.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Let's get all these companies start buying and hodling Bitcoin and put it on a balance sheet. Don't use custodian services. Do it themselves. Set up an offshore company. Copy these guys, and as the CBP as well, copy us.
Who do we talk to about setting up an offshore? Is Mark maybe the guy to talk to? He seems like he might know how to do that, or he's like maybe he's thought about it. I don't know. I feel like I've
How's your
talked to
Japanese?
Mark.
Maybe we could talk to somebody at Metaplanet to figure out how to do
Not good. Not good. I know a guy who speaks one of those foreign languages, maybe Korean or Chinese. I don't know if Japanese.
it. It's gotta be good.
Yeah, I don't know.
Whatever.
I don't know.
Japanese or nothing, right?
There's your CBP like sneakily politically incorrect moment there. I can't tell the difference between those foreign languages. Anyway.
Oh, that's it? Okay, let's move on.
Unless you want me to be more politically incorrect, I could be.
Hey, do me a favor right now. Insert your favorite way to say the Jack Mahler's yo. I know we have one person in our chat.
Yo.
Thank you. I love it.
I hate that guy. Anyway, go ahead.
I love the way our friend does it. I don't want to like call him out just.
It's Brandon from Green Candle.
Brandon,
yeah.
Cool guy. I love the way he does it. I fucking laugh every time he does this. Anyway, Jack Mahler's has come out this past week to say that Strike announced that they're going to be expanding operations, and they have done so into the UK. Strike UK is now in operations. And as per Strike's announcement, UK customers are now able to buy Bitcoin with free on-chain withdrawals. And they also get access to the Lightning wallet, but I'm pretty sure that's custodial in nature. So keep that in mind if you're going to be doing that. Either way, remember in early March, they announced and they expanded into Africa. Strike Africa went live. Several African nations were able to take advantage of this. That was their first expansion out of the United States. Then they launched Strike Europe in April of this year. Now they're in the UK. So I think it's just a matter of time before they break loose and come into Canada, right? I mean,
it's they're never going to come here. And I'll tell you why. Yeah, I'll tell you why. Okay, so I think that they're officially a money transmitter, right? So it's not just that you can buy Bitcoin, sell Bitcoin. As Francis says, and the guys from ShakePay say, and other guys say, when you're doing little, like sort of narrow scope stuff, like buy and sell Bitcoin, not that bad, easy to do. But anything more than that, it's very difficult. Canada makes it very difficult because anything that's viewed as competing with banks is like completely frowned upon. And it's funny, Mark and I are talking about Ledin in the chat. Ledin's a good example of this. Maurizio has said to me before that he wants to operate in Canada, but he can't. It's just not worth it to go through all this. Same thing with Strike, I would guess. Same thing for stuff even Len, like Venmo and other sort of like offshoots of these companies that want to do payments or money transmission, quote unquote money transmission.
Do they operate in Canada? Venmo?
They don't. They're not allowed. Like to send people money here is an absolute joke. Wealthsimple tried to put together this thing that made it easier to send people money. It doesn't really work, although I have a sick tag for that. Same thing with ShakePay. They tried to their credit to do that shake tag thing and be able to send people money. It's good in the app. Yeah, it's good in the app, but like not everyone has ShakePay. And so like there's all these shortcomings. The only way really reliably to send people money is still e-transfer, if you can believe it.
Well, Bitcoin. Just send on-chain Bitcoin.
Yeah, you could send on-chain Bitcoin, but like e-transfer is the one that everyone sort of relies on. And it's dog shit. It is a dog shit experience.
Well, then explain to me how then all that differs from what ShakePay offers in terms of sending somebody with their ShakePay tag. You're sending them money.
You have to stay in the ecosystem. So I think that actually what's happening there is ShakePay is just moving ones and zeros, which is probably allowed, but still pulling it off, you have to go through the e-transfer system. Like it sucks.
Why wouldn't then Strike operate it in the same manner?
It's a good
because
question.
They could then operate moving ones and zeros and then coming off.
This I don't know. I'm sure that I'm missing some detail there, but I'd be curious. So I'm sure if someone in the chat knows, they'll tell us. But there's some
Madman Monroe, by the way, just boosted us $2. Thank you so much. Saying happy Canada Day to both.
How much of that $2 did we get? Like 30 cents?
I don't know.
Google takes it.
Still very much appreciate
We'll take it. Anyway, the Strike thing, I'm curious. Like, I don't know what the problem is with this country and banks, except that it's monopoly and these guys are doing everything they can to protect the ecosystem that they're operating in. Because let's face it, we joke about this all the time, right? These guys haven't innovated in a decade at least. I'm still using the same shitty TD app that I was using on my BlackBerry. Basically, the interface is more or less the same. E-transfer still sucks. Even when I send you money at the end of the month, when we get paid by the advertisers, okay? Like when I send that money out, it should be instant. It's never instant. It feels like anything over $200 takes fucking 20 minutes.
I'm still waiting for the payment that you sent me from 2023 in July. So I'm 12 months behind. It hasn't been added to the next block.
So like this is what I'm talking about, like it really, the whole thing kind of sucks. And when I hear Strike explaining the UK, like wicked, that's really good. But does UK have the same monopoly bank problem that we have here? That I'm not sure about.
I don't know. And they also entered into Europe, and they're tight-fisted when it comes to having control over where money goes and control over privacy, or at least infringing on privacy. So there's a lot of questions here I just don't know the answer to. But the fact that Strike is expanding, they want to go more global, and good for them. And that's why I'm just wondering, is there going to be a chance that they're going to enter Canada? But it seems like, as per your
I don't think it's going to happen.
probably not.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. Look at all the other stuff that's come and gone in terms of like payment and stuff that we never even saw. We never saw it.
You know what stuck around though is inflation.
Even like Apple Pay. Like Apple Pay has, I'm pretty sure in the States they have like all these buy now, pay later stuff on your card. Canadian credit cards couldn't use Apple Pay, even tap to pay up until a few years ago. Like we're just so far behind in every respect under the guise of, I guess, consumer protection. But everyone knows what that means. It's monopoly power, or I guess, oligopoly power in our case. But you get it. It sucks. It sucks.
Now let's talk about a Bitcoin node in your pocket, at least a possibility of this, because it's possible now. As someone with the username epic_curious on Twitter or X,
we have talked about this guy before, I think.
Maybe.
Pretty sure. Anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, he released a beta version of an APK that will allow Android users to run a Bitcoin node on their phone. And of course, there's going to be space limitations because, let's be honest, we don't have spare 1 terabyte on our phones.
Yeah.
A lot of us don't. I don't. Either way, so it's going to be a prune Bitcoin node. That's fine. So this opens the door, though, for people out there to run Bitcoin Core, at least in a beta form, on an older phone that's just sitting there idly doing nothing. So, but keep in mind, as he mentioned, this is all beta, so I wouldn't expect people out there to use this to broadcast any meaningful transaction because you don't know what's going to happen as a result. It could fuck up and just get lost in the sauce. But either way, Epic Curious mentions that the default prunes it to 2 gigabytes, but you could customize it to whatever setting you want after that. And also of note, because this is going to be using the internal storage of the phone, it's going to cause a lot more wear on it, and it could potentially have it wear out much sooner and cause it to brick, or at least make that.
Is that how internal storage on phones works now? I don't know.
Well, there's only a limited amount of reads and writes on anything.
Okay.
There's not unlimited. And if you're going to be constantly doing reads and writes on,
I'd be more worried about battery health on phones, because I know if your battery is hot all the time, it doesn't stay high capacity for a long time. Apple has somehow skated on this. If you use the conductive charging on the back of the phone, like if you just sit it on actually like mine is sitting across the room right now, like instead of using the Q key or whatever charging. Yeah. If you use that mechanism, your battery actually heats up a lot faster and a lot more than it does if you use the wire. This is my understanding. And so your battery health will decline over time. Like you're saying, if you're running hot, thanks to the read writes of something like this, of a node in your pocket, yeah, it's going to be a problem, I think, for a phone. Phones are not built for this. They're not. This is the other thing I don't understand. We're talking about like lightning nodes in your pocket. My question would be why.
This isn't a lightning node. This is a full
Bitcoin node, I should say. But other people have talked about lightning nodes in your pocket because that's sort of the payment, intended L2 payment rail. But we'll stick to the regular nodes for now. Why do we need this? Who's asking for this?
Nobody's asking for it. It's just another option out there for you can potentially run this on an old phone.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show you that it is a truly decentralized network. You're not forced to use some expensive hardware to run a node and to verify transactions. You could do it on very modest hardware. So I like this. I wouldn't recommend it, and I wouldn't use this on my daily phone. Not only would it just potentially wear it out, as I mentioned earlier, but I'm going to imagine it's going to consume a lot more battery compared to not running it. So why would I do it? But if I had a shitty phone, it's just sitting there doing nothing, I'd try it out for fun. I wouldn't keep it running forever, but just to try it out to see what it's like and just check off a box. Yeah, it does work. What's the end game from all this? I don't know. But Luke piped in. He says, you should actually do also one for Bitcoin knots too. So, options are good. Options are available. People can do it. It's free, open source. If there's a will, there's a way. And like I said, you don't need a lot of horsepower to do this. If people are doing it on some fucking phones, that's a lot better than a lot of these shitcoins where you need a lot more than that just to start validating transactions.
Boomer making a good point in the chat too, that old phones are getting better and better. He's right, actually. You know, now you can keep a phone for probably 3, 4, 5 cycles without really feeling the pinch. Unless you're on the Apple ecosystem, in which case you have to have the newest one at all times. Otherwise, they restrict you from certain features.
But I know people that run very old Apple phones. So
they work great. And they work great. Yeah. They hold
Yeah.
the features back on purpose, right? It's part of the planned obsolescence thing in that, you know, environment. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Julian Assange.
Yeah.
Now a free man.
He sure is.
And that's following a plea deal with the Department of Justice. And Bitcoin, of all things, played a part in his return home. His wife was going through the process to try to raise some money, some $500,000, I think $520,000 was the number that was being thrown out there. This was about trying to secure passage on a private jet that was arranged by the Australian government because he couldn't fly commercial. So in order to pay for this and have him fly home to Australia, well, somebody came up with some anonymous person came up and gifted some 8 Bitcoin. And that was the majority of the money needed to pay for this $500,000 flight. So that's really cool. That Bitcoin
sounds like Dorsey, by the way, was the one who did it.
Is that
he tweeted at the same time the transaction confirmed safe passage.
So maybe it was him, you know.
Could be, you know, that guy continues to do the right things, I think.
So just let's go through this. I don't want to go into the weeds here though. $500,000 for a private jet from the UK to Australia.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pricey. Now let's go even further here. And I'm going to go away from the Julian Assange. Maybe what if there was a requirement, or sorry, a increase in the need for private jets? Say like COP29 or what the fuck is going on, and you know there's more people that need private jets. What do you think the cost would be to rent one of these? I don't think it'd be $500,000. Think of all the fucking money people are spending,
including the $200K in food. Or
I don't understand. I don't know if that's. I don't think they're going to give people canned tuna, but you know what? Either way, like it just goes to show you how fucking costly it is to fly private on a private jet. I have obviously never done that.
I think that's a fine framing, but isn't it more accurate to say that's the cost to stay away from like illegitimate government intervention?
What type of intervention is?
Well, I think that safe passage thing was that he just didn't want to land in the States. He wanted to land somewhere else first. To make sure that everything
he wasn't able to fly commercial. I think there must have been some restriction.
I don't know. I have my doubts about that. I have to look.
Why would he go to the States? He'd be going from the UK direct, or there may be a stopover to Australia, but it would be going southeast, not west.
I think my understanding is that he landed on some parcel of land or in some airport where he was able to conduct the business of this release, and finish it without actually landing on the continental US.
He couldn't just go to U.S. Embassy and take care of this because that's U.S. oil.
I don't know. But there's more to this story, I think. People in the chat. Can people in the chat just do all the research for us so that, we start the show? I honestly think that was the case. I have to look into it. I think, who was it talking about this? Or maybe I saw it on like a Musk retweet or something like that. I have to look into it more. But I'm pretty sure there's a little more to that story and the rationale behind the private jet. Hence the tweet safe passage, right?
Maybe.
Well, he's not talking about staying away from photo ops on a fucking Delta flight. Like he's talking about why, like the reason behind
it. Would be Spirit Air or Ryanair. Like they have to go budget and he's gonna either way. I just want to say boom dust. I just clicked into why are you in the chat? I thought you'd be on the beach today. Like you did mention that what are you doing?
CBP regulars who claim that they're off doing fun shit on the long weekend are actually all here. So
what is going on? Anyways, Blockstream. Let's talk about them because they've mentioned this past week that they're going to be releasing their new ASIC to the world in Q3 2024. So now we have a company that has ties to United States that is going to be releasing Bitcoin hardware. And something that's forgotten, we talked about this the first year of the CBP. They bought, what is it, Spoon Doolies? Is that what it's called?
Now. I don't know.
That was in 2021. That was an Israeli company that
Spoon Dooley sounds like a bad CAPTCHA that Google would give me if I try signing from a new device. Type these words. Spoon Dooley.
Tough to do. Anyway, it's an Israeli company that it was in the mining game, and they bought them up 3 years ago. In fact, 2021, and Blockstream was hoping to launch something in 2022, but something caused a delay. Now here we are in 2024, 2 years later, and they're thinking about doing it. But either way, last January, Blockstream, we're talking January 2023, they raised $125 million to expand mining operations. So not much is known about that raise, but looks like there's going to be something released later this year. I have no idea what the specs are. Hopes are high, but I think that my expectations are going to be rather low. And also, not just that one, Block is also, Jack Dorsey's Block is going to be releasing a new ASIC. And when I was talking to the Wilson Mining last week, they mentioned that they had an NDA with them, so they couldn't speak very much. But it sounds like to me that the release of Block's new ASIC is rather imminent. So you're going to have both Blockstream and Block each releasing something in the next little while. And overall, I think this is a really good thing. We've mentioned this in the past. Having Bitmain being the biggest player, the biggest fish in this pond, is probably the least likely scenario. We want to have more of a decentralized system in terms, even with the Bitcoin mining hardware. And also with that, you'd want to have companies that have stronger ties with Western nations, because let's be honest, if you're going to deal with a company, one that's set up in United States, Canada, whatever, probably you're going to have better relations with them than one set up in China. So with that being all said, I'm hopeful that this is actually going to come out to be something really good, but still in the end, all the money that was put in R&D by Bitmain, they have a huge head start. With anybody going to catch up to them? Who the hell knows?
No, the answer is no. When are these guys going to start putting out stuff that retail wants to buy, that you and me want to buy? I realize that like it's hard to imagine a world where pleb miners take over, but it seems to me like everyone wants this to be the case. And so maybe everyone's just waiting for a sort of, retail friendly hardware drop from one of these companies. I'm just cruising Amazon here because that's a place where everyone goes to buy shit. If I type in Bitcoin miners, you get a few options. There's something called a Gold Shell KA box, 1.6 terahash, 600 watts. How much do you think it costs?
$550.
It's $3,900.
I don't know why anybody would even consider that.
Don't know, but like that's what I'm saying. Like, there's options here. There's some nerd miners on here too, but yeah, Decentral sells on Amazon. There's a few other kind of cool little things here. BitAxe is on Amazon, but like there's clearly here a missed market opportunity, I think. Because if I could find a miner, and I say this all the time, I should just buy a BitAxe and get it over with. I haven't done it yet, but like there's people who want to start mining, and I think a lot of Bitcoiners, especially guys of our vintage, Len, who have seen a little bit of the ebb and flow of the network and the need and the sort of attack vectors. There's a certain subset of Bitcoiners who would plug something in at home if they could get it. And I just keep seeing these companies talking about building ASICs for what? You're never going to overtake Bitmain as far as industrial. You're never going to start your own data center. So what's the plan? Who are they going to sell to? Are they just trying to do it because they want stuff manufactured on American soil? Is that the angle? I don't know. What do you think?
If it's going to be just that and their equipment is subpar, it's
not enough.
Game.
It's not enough.
Right. Because somebody's not going to buy just simply because it's made United.
Of course not. Why would you? It's such a high stakes game. So what do? And then on top of that, Len, like now, this is the other thing. We talked about this on the show last week, and we talked about it with SB, and we talked about it with other guests. All the industrial miners are going to move away from anything that's not Bitmain, because it sounds like Bitmain is going to start cooperating with them on the HPC side. So like, I think there's a lot to say here, and it doesn't seem to me like starting an ASIC farm now or starting an ASIC manufacturing farm now is a good idea. That's a little worrying to me. If I was like a Block shareholder, I'd be asking like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Like, the share price is in the tank, and this is what you're spending your time on. There's got to be better stuff than this to do.
Well, see what Boomdoes is saying. Block has more capital behind them than anyone else in this space, even the big Chinese incumbents. I don't know if they care enough, though.
Capital doesn't matter. That's the whole thing. Capital doesn't matter. What matters is, do you have the logistical base to be able to produce hardware and ship it around the world? Bitmain has it, but so far, Len, doesn't seem like anyone else does.
Well, capital could certainly reduce that gap quite a bit.
Well, we'll see.
How much you want to throw at it.
If it could,
if you don't have it,
someone else will be doing it, right? But so far, no one's doing it.
Yeah, think about how slim the margins here are.
They're tight for sure.
It's not like Bitmain is making hand over fist in terms of money, but also in terms of that, who's buying this? It's not like everyone has.
I know.
Right? Like you're talking a very small segment of the world population that will want to buy one of these things. So yeah, it's not high volume.
No,
it's high volume, I guess, to a degree when you're talking about big companies like Core Scientific, but then even then they have they reach a saturation point. We're not going to buy any more. And in fact, we could talk about them next. Core Scientific, the large Bitcoin mining company, they came up with some news this past week, and they have a new contract that they've established with Cornweave. I'm going to call them Cornweave from now on. Anyways, CoreWeave, or Cornweave as I call them, that's the high performance computing, or HPC company. And there seems to be some sort of convergence, as you mentioned, between these two industries. And this deal is going to deliver an additional 70 megawatts of infrastructure to CoreWeave. And this is part of a larger, get this, Joey, 12-year, 200 megawatt agreement between the two companies.
Yeah.
So they're in it for the long term. And looks like Core Scientific is going to be allocating some of what they have over there to this HPC company. And if it's lucrative enough, why wouldn't they do more of this? It only makes sense. But is this going to be something that's going to be available long term? Is this something that's going to dry up? Who the fuck knows? I don't.
I have no idea. I still have my suspicions about CoreWeave. I talked a bit about this with SB as far as their investment in NVIDIA. He assures me that the bear case is not as sound as it may seem on podcasts, and makes a pretty good case that some of the strategic investment they're doing in CoreWeave is pretty standard. Now, these other companies, I don't know. I'm not sure, honestly, what the nature of the agreements are. I guess we'll just have to wait and see, right? I mean, how else can you describe stuff like this? You and me are not sort of on the finance side. We like to talk about the stories, but this is a bit over my head in terms of like available information. So I don't know. I guess we'll just find out. I continue to say though, Len, mining as a business is not a good business. And so the more times these guys get into HPC, the more I think that thesis becomes, more of a reality.
Mining is a good side business, I think.
Yes.
Mining is not a good main. This is
it just doesn't work because like I keep on hearing. Okay, without going too long here, because I know I want to do a short show too, but
go long on this one. I'm curious.
The thing I keep hearing is that these companies are actually, and I talked about this with SB, right? They're actually power producers and power allocators, and the PPA is where the value is. The thing is that the reason that Bitcoin mining companies have such great PPAs, power purchase agreements, is because, like you've mentioned many times on the show, the power is what?
It's available if it's cheap,
it's fucking stranded. It's stranded power a lot of the time. So in some way or another.
Oil and gas are the ones that are
sure.
Right. But they have that is the freest of energy.
Yeah.
The freest.
That's why Bitcoin mining really works, right? And the thing is that Bitcoin mining, as far as the case we've made on the show, and I think it's a good case for miners, that it's demand responsive on a grid. It helps you build out base. You can turn the demand down when the grid needs more power, hot day, cold day, emergencies, whatever, right? Great. The thing about these Bitcoin miners who are moving to HPC is that HPC is not demand response. It's if someone queues up, draw me a picture of 10 gorillas fighting over the same banana in the jungle. You can't just say, well, we're not doing it right now because there's an emergency and, power supplies low to the facility because, the grid wants us to scale back. No, if the token comes in, you got to produce. And so this is the other thing I don't get. Bitcoin miners have made the case for years that, this is something that's going to be important for grid safety and grid stability. HPC is not like that. So these things to me, I've made this case before, not with those, not around those terms, but they're going to be doing one or the other. And I see that CoreWeave is not in it for the mining from the chat there. I know. Well, I think there's a question here that miners need to answer. Are you going to be demand response and grid support, grid stability focused, which was the case, in a lot of these pitch decks and a lot of these podcasts? This is something we can do for the grids. Pierre Rochard talking all the time about Riot and how they're good for the Texas grid. HPC is not the same animal. So what's the plan? You can't do both, and you can't make the pitch to be one and then be the other. I'm, again, waiting anxiously to see how these things turn out in a year or two. As you said, maybe then you become, you regret going the HPC route because it becomes oversaturated. Everyone realizes that these things can't even write these things can't even write essays at the grade 10 level, and Bitcoin mining becomes the sort of soup du jour again. But for now, we're waiting and seeing. We're seeing the things develop. We're waiting and seeing to see how things turn out.
I think this really is more applicable to the publicly traded miners more than anything else.
Yeah.
One that is privately held, and
they can do whatever they want. Who cares, right?
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And if they want to just simply mine Bitcoin, it's their money. They could do whatever they want with it. So the publicly traded miners, what do they make up? I think the last estimate I saw is around 1/3 of the overall hash rate. And I think that number is going to continually get smaller and smaller as more different companies and countries get involved with Bitcoin mining. But let's talk about Mara. I guess this last story we'll talk about before finishing off Bitcoin side. They're doing something for what they call diversification. And what does this mean? They're going to be mining a shitcoin, Joey. They're going to be mining a shitcoin called Caspa. Never heard of this shitcoin before the story, and I don't know too much about it. I didn't really care about reading it, but either way, Mara, remember, they're going to be sponsoring. They're one of the major sponsors of the Bitcoin and Name Only conference that's coming up soon. They're one of the big sponsors there, and according to this press release, they've been looking at this shitcoin since May 2023. That's when they started looking into potentially mining this, and they initially started mining it in September of 2023. So they've been at this, not just looking at it, but they actually put their money where their mouth is, and they bought the particular to mine this. Apparently, it's a different type of mining equipment. It's not simply you go to Bitmain and get a S21. There's something else you need to do to mine Caspa. Whatever, they did it. They bought it, and to date, they said that they've mined 93 million Caspa tokens worth around $15 million. Where the fuck it is? Good luck on them, but. Why? Like, I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. But
okay? Here's the question, right? We've given Mara a bit of shit on the show for Slipstream in the past, right? The out of band transaction OTC desk, basically, that they have there, and now we're giving them shit for Caspa. Is this better or worse than moving some of your resources to HPC?
Isn't it kind of the equivalent of it?
Pragmatically, it's the same. I think it's the same. Yeah, I think it's the same.
You're chasing profits that are not named Bitcoin.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of people have been getting shit for that. Like I said, rightfully so in some cases. And I don't know how long that model is going to work for, but I would say that for now, I can't really fault them for this because they're trying to keep up with HPC. They're trying to find new revenue streams. This is why, a lot of miners did Ethereum and Bitcoin when Ethereum was proof of work. And I think that you're going to find more miners start to dabble in this other shit. And again, like you said it earlier, public miners have to make money, and their shareholders don't care about network hash rate and network security and ethos. They care about the bottom line. And if Caspa is going to get in there, they'll do it, or whatever the shitcoin is. Who knows? This is not going to be the first story or not going to be the last story we hear like this.
You know what they should do? I just came to this realization is they should liquidate everything and purchase Bitcoin. Because if we look at MetaPlanet, the price of their company went up after they bought some Bitcoin. So they should sell all the ASICs they have, just buy Bitcoin and just dilute.
Oh man.
It's a strategy that works, at least for now. Yeah. But it probably won't for very long.
That's it. Come back. Stay here. We're going to the notable stories. Then you guys can get back to your Coors Lights on the beach. Stay here if you're on video. If you're on audio, see you tomorrow.
Yeah, don't be a cock. Are you a fan of the old school NHL 94 game on the Genesis or SNES? Why not check out my show, the NHL 94 podcast? From tournaments and tactics to the people who make up this community. Check it out wherever you listen to podcasts or find it on YouTube.